Buttercup Creek Campground is located in the northern part of Michigan's Lower Peninsula to the east of Mayo along the Ausable River. It is a short drive down a two-track to get to this campground, and it's not super well marked, so for this campground I definitely say trust your GPS because I did trust mine and was able to find it pretty easy. You can see the road going into the campground also isn't that much of a road. It's also more of a two-track, and it's probably because this campground doesn't get used that often. That being said, they put a brand new outhouse in here. It's actually more of a little restroom. It's really nice for such a remote campground. This campground only has 3 campsites, and it's pretty out in the middle of nowhere, so I was super surprised to see such an upgrade to this campground here. Looking inside, it still even looks brand new, and like it's only been used just a couple times. I'm gonna guess this was a this year or very late last year project. Continuing into the small, fairly unused campground, there are, like I said, only 3 campsites. You'll get a quick look at each one of them, and only one of them was being used, but nobody was at it, so I actually took a second to grab that on camera. The first site is by far the site that I would want to camp at if I was staying here. It's really the only one that's back off the road and makes you feel a little more secluded, plenty big enough for a couple tents or a very small pop-up camper or trailer if you can get it here. But then, like, I think this is site number 2. I'm not really sure. It might just be an overflow parking area. And then as we round the corner, this also looks like it could be campsite number 2, and right beside it, campsite number 3. It's more like a very narrow path where you'd, like, put a bike or something. And this is the last campsite. So there are picnic tables, there are fire rings, and it gives space for 3 different groups of campers, small groups. And they've upgraded the fire rings, they're newer, they were recently dug in. The real main feature that this campground has is the fact that it is so close to the Ausable River. It is just a short hike to get down to the river. And once you're down to the water, you can go in either direction in your waders, in a canoe or in a kayak, and do some excellent trout fishing out here. I will say that as you're walking down here, you definitely want to keep in mind this is pretty boggy. You can see there's some low areas here that are pretty muddy, but once you get down to the edge of the water, it is totally worth it. There's plenty of space here for canoers and kayakers to pull up their canoes and kayaks and drag them to shore and stay the night at the campground if they wanted to. And I imagine, based off the way it looks and how nice and flat it is, that many people that are paddling the river take advantage of the shoreline and they stay the night right along the bank. This campground is a free-to-stay campground because it's also intended for kayakers and canoers, not for people to drive up and use. And you can see here from the river it is marked so that paddlers can see that there's a campground there. Here's some quick drone footage of the area. Just up the road a little ways, there is another campground called Bear Island Campground. It's also only meant to be accessed by canoe or kayak. This campground definitely only has enough space for a few tents to be thrown up and is not intended to be driven to. It also has no pump water, and it has no outhouse at that campground.